fighters.
That's a hard one. You know, but Sugar Ray Robinson for me was the greatest.
Number one.
Number one, because he had all the attributes. He had, you know, in the era you're talking about, the four great middleweights, Hearns, Hagler, Duran and Leonard, it's hard for me to argue that they weren't as good as Sugar Ray Robinson. But Sugar Ray Robinson for me was just a pure, beautiful athlete who could fight and box and do the tricks. And, you know, he won the middleweight championship 5 times. He was the welterweight champion. He boxed in an era where it was brutal, it was difficult, and he just came out at the top of the heap, you know. So for me, he was the best. Where do we go from there? I think one of your 4, Hearns, Hagler, Leonard, Hearns, Duran, I think, you know, Sugar Ray Leonard is up there. I don't know if I'd put in. I think the second one I put was Joe Louis, the heavyweight champion. Now, what you've got to remember is that in those days, the heavyweights were 13 and a half stone. Nowadays, they're beasts like 20 stone Tyson Fury. You can't talk like for like over that. You just talk about ability. As a heavyweight champion, as a champion, he was a beautiful boxer and probably the best one-punch knockout man of all time. When he hit that with his left hook or his right cross, that was it, finished. He was a terrific fighter.
He was Sugar Ray Robinson's next door neighbour. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
I found that out recently, yeah.
I didn't know
they
that.
were neighbours. When Robinson was a boy, he grew up next to Joe Louis.
I knew that Louis was his hero, but I didn't know that they were neighbours.
Neighbours. Yeah. What's the chances?
Yeah. But then I would put him there. Why are we always talking about the heavier guys, I suppose? I mean, you've got guys, and I'm only going from what I've read about them. You've got guys like Jimmy Wild, the flyweight champion of the world from
Welsh, wasn't he?
He was Welsh. Yeah. You've got guys like him. You've got Willie Pep, the great featherweight champion, the best left hand in the business. You've got all these guys. It's difficult. But then one guy that many people overlook is Rocky Marciano.
He was my favourite. I loved Rocky Marciano.
Well, I hold him up as an example of how to throw the cross. Right, I see lots of boxers nowadays, professional, when they're training, not so much in fights, but throwing a straight up cross. And I throw my hands up in horror because that's not the way. So I teach the cross the way it should be, which is stepping in, and the punch travels 6 inches, and it's so devastating. It does real damage. Rocky Marciano, if you look at his fight when he won the world championship against Jersey Joe Walcott, he stepped in with a short right cross, which if you blinked, you would have missed it.
A slightly bent arm.
Yeah. Oh yeah, much bent. It is a bent arm. And he did that all the time. Marciano, 5'10.5", short guy, 5'10", for his weight as a heavyweight, 13.5 stone, 49 fights, 49 victories.
Incredible.
So you have to put him up there. I mean, he was a bruiser, couldn't fight, couldn't box to save himself. Knew his strengths, and he used them to the full advantage. So you got to put him up there. What are we talking about? The top 3 or the top 5?
Oh, give me the top 5.
Well, I can't think now. You know,
what about Muhammad Ali? Would you put him in your list?
I think you have to, but you know, I wasn't the